Thank you for joining us at the Michigan Liter. I'm sorry, at. I'm sorry. This is the Sylvia. This is the literary world of Sylvia Hubbard, and I am your host, Sylvia Hubbard, author of Romance and Suspense. We're having a weird kind of day. It's rainy, and we're in Detroit, and of course, we are just trying to get this done, and we want to keep it going. And I want to thank you guys in advance for all your listens and all your messages. If you want to leave a message, you can. And just hit that button on our main page at anchor.fm/Sylvia Hubbard1. And if you would like to contact me directly, you can always go to my website at sylviahubbard.com/contact me. We are now in episode 4 of the literary world of Sylvia Hubbard, and our book we are featuring is Mistaken Identity. And I have, if you haven't listened to any of the other episodes, please stop right now and go back and listen to chapters 1 through 3. And we want to thank you, of course, for joining us as always. If you don't want to listen as I read, or you'd like to read along with me, check out the book at sylviahubbard.com/entire mistaken. It's also available to download as an ebook wherever books are sold. I do implore you to be 18 years or older, and if not, turn off the switch right now and switch to another podcast, because that is more your age, because even I'm not old enough for this. If you want to know why did I write Mistaken Identity, it is a polyamorous contemporary romance about a woman who switches places with her sister on the wedding day. And from that scenario, Dana's life gets a little bit more complicated. And we are going to begin chapter 3 of Mistaken Identity. Flustered and ready to pass out, Dana spoke cautiously. "I don't know what you mean. Line floozy," Denise screamed, shoving her sister on the bed and standing over her. 7 years ago, junior prom season, I was on punishment for sneaking out, and you were out losing your virginity. Dana had almost forgotten about that night. Standing up, she turned away to shed her relief. Is that why you've often asked about how I lost it?" Denise sat on the bed dejectedly. Jerome was drunk one night about a year ago, and he was talking about the early days, how he saw me in high school, how he used to play for Redford High. Really? Of course Dana knew, but she was not about to reveal anything. She had gone to every one of the games and watched him play. She had always admired him from afar, very afar, but she never let anyone know. He said he saw me cheerleading for Cody High, and he thought I was the prettiest girl he'd ever seen, and the only reason he transferred from Florida to Michigan State University on a scholarship was because I was going there. But the real reason he said he wanted to be with me and marry me was because I was the first girl whose virginity he took in 11th grade at River Ridge Park. Dana slumped next to her sister, devastated. Her stalking secret was partially out. "Did you tell him the truth?" "I didn't dispute it," Denise admitted. "Why?" "'Cause he's Jerome Lott. Do you know how good I look to my sorority sisters with him on my arm?" She said it so obviously. "Yes, Denise, I do realize that, and I also realize you're really shallow." "Are you going to tell me what happened?" Denise demanded to know. Dana signed tiredly. She had never told anyone of that night. She'd been following Jerome that day and was sitting in Rouge Park watching him at a nearby house. But she twisted the remainder of the story. "I fell asleep on the bus and ended up at Rouge Park. The driver kicked me off at the end of the line in the park and told me to wait for the next bus. Jerome happened to be somewhere over there at this party, wandered over to me and started talking to me. He was slightly buzzed, and he thought I was you." She relayed the truth from this point. "He asked me to come into the park with him. Next thing I knew, we were on the ground kissing, and, well, it happened. Trust me, I was madder at myself than anything. So when I saw the next bus coming, I ran for it and jumped on. He was too busy putting on his pants, otherwise he would have caught me. A few days later, he came by the house looking for you again while you were in New York for the cheerleading championship with Mom. He thought he'd really hurt me. I told him I never wanted to be reminded of that experience again, and if he ever spoke of it to anyone or even me, I would never want to see or speak to him again. I guess he kept his word, at least for a while. Denise stood up looking very upset, yet Dana made an observation. Wasn't it about a year ago when he asked you to marry him? Yes, he asked me that night after he said being with me in the park was a night he'd never forget. The night he had decided that I would be the woman he wanted to be with for the rest of his life. The words stunned Dana. She just thought Jerome had been so intoxicated that he had forgotten about it since he had never mentioned it. So did you realize then it had been me? Dana asked. Yes, Dana. Dana stood up and faced her sister, looking appalled. And you still accepted his proposal? Hell yes. He's Jerome Lott, second-round draft pick. Dana stood up. But he thinks the woman he slept with was you. Why are you deceiving him? Me? You could have easily said something when I brought him home from college, Dana. Denise was right. I saw the big fat promise ring on your finger, Denise, and I guess I loved you too much to ruin how happy you seemed to be. Ever since we were little, you always talked about finding a rich, handsome man, letting him buy you a big house, and getting married in the huge backyard. She could see Denise reliving their childhood dreams. That had been back in the days before the jealousy had set in, when they were more than sisters. They had been friends. I remember you saying it first, Dana. You always knew what you wanted. I just copied or envied it back then, Denise honestly admitted. So now that you know the real truth, what are you gonna do? Dana asked. Give you the chance to live your dreams, Dana. I'm going to give you the opportunity to marry a rich, handsome man in a big backyard. Frowning confused, Dana questioned, What are you talking about, Denise? A coldness swept over Denise as if a dark curtain was being drawn in the room. You're going to take my place today and marry Jerome Lott. And that is part 4 or chapter 4 of Mistaken Identity. I hope you are enjoying yourself, and I'm so glad you made it to chapter 4. I'm so glad you're joining us. So if you don't want to listen as I read, or you'd like to read along with me, check out the book at sylviahubbard.com/entiremistaken. It's also available to download as an ebook wherever books are sold. If you would like to hear more books or read more books by this author, me, you can go to my website at sylviahubbard.com/books. And I would so appreciate if you would share this episode with other people. And join us again for the literary world of Sylvia Hubbard as we read chapter 5 in the upcoming episode. So don't forget to subscribe for an update or an alert. And then, of course, share on your social media to encourage other people to listen. Thanks again, guys.